pleased today to welcome Dr. Aaron Frost to the Cube.
Thanks, Louise.
You're a clinical psychologist, is that right?
Sorry,
You might have to hold it up.
Right up here. I work as a clinical psychologist in private practice.
Yep. So you're already exposed to, I suppose, the grassroots end of what's sort of happening as far as youth mental health is concerned. So at what stage are most of the young people when you see them?
Right. I see a variety of presenting problems. So I'll see very young children, as young as maybe 2 or 3, who've got mental health concerns or behavioural concerns, ranging through to adolescents who've had quite a healthy and happy childhood but have just sort of fallen off the path a little bit,
so
through to adults.
How would a parent know that there was something wrong with a 2 or 3-year-old?
Yeah,
it seems very young.
Absolutely. With a 2 or 3-year-old, you would see things like, for a developmental disorder, you might see that they're not meeting some of their normal milestones. So they're having difficulty walking, they're having difficulty talking, they're more clingy than other children, they're not behaving like the other children, so they're much more upset or much more frightened, or they're much more angry than other children of their age. And then I guess the appropriate approach would be to seek some advice from a mental health professional to try and work out whether this is a serious problem or whether this is just within the range of what would be normal.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I'm in here in the Clear Thinking Cube, and you can follow the information, all my blogs on clearthinking.com.au, is because 1 in 4 young people develop a mental disorder in any 1 year. So
absolutely.
What sort of age are the majority of young people that you see?
I think it's right across the board. It depends what the mental illness would be. So for something like schizophrenia, people are much more likely to develop that. People are much more likely to develop something like schizophrenia later in their teens, ranging from sort of 15 through to 20, whereas severe behavioural problems can be as young as 4 or 5, whereas separation difficulties and anxiety and behavioural problems you can see as young as 2.
So my understanding is that frequently mental illness can kind of present similar to sort of the types of withdrawal that teenagers can just make from their families anyway, naturally. So if I was a parent of a teenager, how do I actually know, well, this is something, they don't want to talk to me anymore because I'm an old fuddy-duddy. How do I actually know that there's a problem that I need to seek help for? And how do I convince a teenager to come with me?
Yeah. I think that there is a degree of normal difficulties that you see in teenagers. I think the best advice is, as a parent, you know your kid better than anyone else does and better than any mental health professional does. If you think that your child is having more than the usual range of teenage problems, it's really worth seeking some advice. Because often a teenager who isn't talking to their parents anymore and who's pushing them away will happily talk to someone like me or another child psychologist or a child psychiatrist. And then you can get a sense whether, no, this is, just a usual part of teenage years versus, no, this is a kid who's really struggling.
Yeah, one of the things that Sue Cameron, who she was in here on Tuesday and talking about her experiences with her son who has schizophrenia.
Yeah.
She was sort of saying, though, that she approached her family GP, and that because he kind of knew the family, she perhaps didn't push hard enough for what might show up. So have you got any advice for parents if their first port of call doesn't sort of work out the way they're hoping?
Absolutely. I think people need to treat their mental health like their physical health, which is that you need to be an advocate for yourself and you need to be an advocate for the people you care about. If you went and saw a GP about a lump that you were worried about and the GP didn't investigate it properly, you'd seek a second opinion. If you go and see a GP about your son or your daughter who you think might be developing schizophrenia and you don't feel that the GP has investigated it properly before dismissing it, then I think you need to be an advocate and you need to actually push that further and get a second opinion.
Yeah. The other thing that I suppose has come out a lot today, because it's Are You OK Day, is the rates of youth suicide. As I understand it, 10% of young people try to commit suicide, and that
it's a frightening statistic.
Yeah, it is a frightening statistic, and that many of those are perhaps exhibiting the first stages of mental disorder as well. What's your advice and experience with relation to youth suicide?
I think the area of youth mental health is appallingly done by mental health services, and one of the reasons that we've actually set up this foundation is looking to get greater service access for people in the early stages of mental health problems. This is improved slightly by the work of the Australian of the Year category, who's been setting up the Headspace model, but so much more needs to be done. If you're a parent of a young person who is developing schizophrenia, developing depression, having drug and alcohol problems, you will absolutely do the runaround of GPs, the Child and Youth Mental Health Service, maybe the Adult Mental Health Service, teachers, guidance counsellors, the welfare system, before you actually find anyone who can help. And the area of youth mental health is actually one of the most disgraceful failings in our public system at the moment.
Yeah, so you are a trustee of Clear Thinking, and I'm blogging this week on clearthinking.com.au. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook at ClearThinkN, just the letter N, a girl. So perhaps you could give us some background into why you decided to found Clear Thinking in the first place.
Sure. I guess my background as a child psychologist was doing research into children in the early stages of behavioural problems. And to be honest, we tend to do that reasonably well as a public system. We do behavioural problems very well, and we do anxiety disorders fairly well. What we don't do well is the major mental health problems, the schizophrenia, the bipolars, the serious drug problems. And I guess quite early in my career, I started working with Professor Stan Katz, who's also one of the trustees, and we were doing work on early intervention in schizophrenia. And I think as a part of doing that work, I just realised how badly early intervention is done. This is a disorder that tends to come on in the later stages of childhood, so 16, 17, 18, but it's a disorder that's best treated often by adult mental health services. Adult mental health services will refuse to treat you if you're under 18. Child and youth mental health services don't feel like they've got the expertise if you've got schizophrenia. So this is actually one of the most serious mental health problems, but is completely falling through the cracks of the way that we've set up our public mental health system.
Yeah.
We've made an arbitrary decision that people on one side or the other of 18 belong in different places, whereas mental health problems don't care what age you are.
Yeah.
Mental health problems will kick in.
Yeah. So, one of the, apart from raising community awareness to the issue of youth mental health, which is why I'm essentially sitting here today, one of the things we're trying to do is raise community funds, but also, more importantly, government funds, because it's going to be quite expensive, to build a research centre for youth mental health. So the purpose of the centre will be to have a place where the 40% of young people who don't respond to first-line treatment can come. And then how will the research angle work to reducing the 5 to 10 years it takes to diagnose schizophrenia?
All of the data tells us that this dedicated service model of having youth centres that are dedicated to schizophrenia and major mental illness is absolutely the way to go. So I think what's being done here is a brilliant model to raise money to get that happening and to raise awareness to make this an election issue. What we're hoping to do on top of that is we know that the best practice models of today won't be the best practice models of 10 years time. The best practice models of 50 years ago were electroconvulsive therapy, insulin shock therapy, coma therapy. We're a world ahead of that now, and we hope that in 50 years' time we'll be a world ahead of that too. So the youth mental health service will not only provide current best practice treatment to people in the early stages of mental illness, it'll also provide the research into the innovations that are going to come in the next 10, 20, 30 years. Because schizophrenia ultimately is going to be curable, but it's going to need time, it's going to need effort, and it's going to need money.
So is it because we don't know enough about the brain that we can't yet find a cure for things like schizophrenia, or what needs to happen for the research to break through to that point?
I actually don't think it's that we don't know enough about the brain. We know a phenomenal amount about the the brain. We know a phenomenal amount about genes and genetic expression. We know a lot about neurotransmitters. We don't know enough to map every pathway. What's really needed is money and time. When you look at how much progress has been made in the treatment of cancer in the last 20 years, and that progress has come from massive amounts of public money and private money being poured into it. The survival rates from cancer, even complex cancers like lung cancer, have dramatically improved in the last 20 years. If in the last 20 years we've been pouring the same amount of public money, time, energy into the treatment and research of schizophrenia, I think we'd be in a massively better place than we are currently.
Yeah. Another point that Professor Katz had raised earlier this week was the fact that a lot of the research to date has been more about what's happening with the brain and the pathways and things like that at that end of the treatment, whereas what we're hoping to achieve, as I understand it with the research Centre for Youth Mental Health, is more to look at the people and what they're exhibiting at this end of the treatment and then hopefully marry some of the data up.
Absolutely. There's really good brain research that's already out there, and there's really good research on the treatment models that work already. That the youth centre would be about actually delivering some of those treatment models, but also looking at how we can improve those treatment models beyond what we've got already.
Yeah. A statistic that I haven't really talked about this week, but you've just touched on there, was the fact that it's mental illness is one of the only major disease group where mortality rates are increasing. So, yeah, as you say, all the funding's gone into a lot of the other disease groups that people have been concerned about, and that's why we need community awareness and community knowledge of the fact that mental health needs funds in order to improve the lives of people with mental health, but also give them help keep people contributing members of the community.
Absolutely. It's a disgraceful statistic that we've never known more about the brain, we've never had more drugs at our disposal, we've never had more opportunity to do treatment for schizophrenia, yet the mortality rate is increasing and the cure and successful treatment rate is decreasing. You actually got better treatment for schizophrenia in the mid-70s than you do today, which is appalling.
So what can members of the community do to reverse that? What can I do? Because I'm going to blog about this today on clearthinking.com.au, and I need to be able to tell people, what they can do to improve that.
I think the issue that you've touched on with the Clear Thinking Cube is the critical one, is that we all need to wake up. When we go to elections, we need to actually demand that our politicians make mental health front and centre. We need to make healthcare front and centre. We need to not care about whether Julia Gillard's got a child or not and whether Tony Abbott's had a new haircut. The issue of the celebrity-obsessed, superficial culture is one of the key problems. People need to embrace serious issues, and mental health is a serious, complex issue, and they need to say to our politicians, how are you going to fix this? And if you're not going to fix it, I don't have time for you, I'm voting for someone else.
Yeah. It is very expensive. Clear Thinking needs to raise about $200,000 to write up a business case for the Youth Mental Health Centre. And then it's only as a result of that business case that we need to try and get the state government to fund $10 million over 5 years, I think it is, to run the Youth Mental Health Centre. So it's a very expensive process. As you say, it can't all be contributed to by private funding, so we really do need to pressure the government.
Yeah, although cost is relative, isn't it? For a small research foundation and a small charity like Queensland Schizophrenia Research Foundation and Clear Thinking, $200,000 is a phenomenal amount of money. For the state government, that's the paperclip budget for a year. When we're talking about $200,000, we're not talking about massive amounts of money. And when we're talking about what we can do with $200,000, we're talking about reducing suffering. And when you can reduce suffering, the economists can cost that as saving millions upon millions of dollars. But more importantly, at a humanitarian level, how we treat the people who are suffering the greatest and the most disadvantaged in our society has to be a measure of us as a group.
Yeah, I feel as though I could talk to you about this issue, half the day, because even what we're not accounting for at the moment in terms of the cost of youth mental, or the cost of mental health in general, is all of the additional resources such as the police and hospitals and the things that happen when people drop out of first-line treatment. So I think I said before, 40% of young people don't respond to first-line treatments, and currently only 3% of people are accessing specialist care. So